Okay, I think we are live. Thank you everyone for joining today. We have plenty of people joining us today. I think this is our biggest registration to date. Almost 1,000 people, and we've got a couple of hundred people rolling in already. So thank you so much for joining today. Today is our Airbnb Power Up workshop. We are, of course, talking about Airbnb and optimizing your listing, looking at ways to get more bookings. We have Julia today here from Airbnb. Hello, Julia. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Andrew from our team as well, helping out with some questions that will no doubt come up. We do have a few people helping out in the chat as well, but we'll try and get to as many questions through the chat as we can, and we'll make sure we save some for the Q&A at the end. So if there's any repetitive questions, we'll probably keep them towards the end of the session and try and answer them all in one go. As a reminder, just before we kick off, we are recording today's session. So if you get disconnected at any point or you have to jump off early, you can come back to the exact same link that you're on now and you'll be able to watch the full recording back at your own leisure. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our presenters to kick things off. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Miles. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Before I dive in, though, I do want to acknowledge the service fee update email that went out this week. And while it might look like your fee is increasing from 3%, the split fee, to 15.5%, the single fee, in reality, it's more of a shift in how that fee is collected, not an overall increase in cost on Airbnb. And while the fee you pay is slightly higher, you may adjust your prices accordingly so that your payouts don't change. The total cost to guests stays about the same. It's just displayed differently for clarity and transparency. And again, hosts are able to maintain earnings by adjusting their prices to account for that change. Greater transparency for guests can also help drive demand, ultimately benefiting hosts. We recognize that this is a meaningful change, and we're dedicated to supporting hosts through this transition. The webinar that we have prepared today doesn't cover anything else about the host service fee change in detail, but I did just want to acknowledge the change and give the team, everyone here, just a bit of information that I have about the change. But without further ado, I'll get started. My name is Julia. I support hosts operating small businesses around the world. I'm based in Portland, Oregon. I love the outdoors, and I'm hoping to get in one last outdoor trip before the summer comes to a close. On the agenda today, we're going to cover quality on Airbnb, booking settings, and promotions. Everything we covered today are things that you can do to help your listing stand out and drive more bookings. They're recommendations to consider and levers you can pull on depending on how your listing is performing. So, not every recommendation is one we're saying you should absolutely take. It's really on a case-by-case basis and dependent on your listing performance. So let's go ahead and get started with quality. So why is quality so important? If you think of quality as a key driver of success on Airbnb, it's basically a positive cycle that impacts multiple aspects of hosting. So, a high quality listing attracts more travelers and enhances your reputation, opening the door to new opportunities. Additionally, quality can help improve conversion rates by reassuring travelers through positive reviews and a strong presentation. And it saves time by reducing complaints and streamlining that daily management. The Airbnb algorithm also considers many other factors to determine how to order search results, but some factors have a larger impact than others. In particular, the popularity of your listing, the price of your listing, the location, and the quality of that listing heavily influence how a listing appears in search results. High quality listings may get better visibility in the algorithm and helps to increase your booking potential. So investing in quality really optimizes both your earnings and efficiency. It's a continuous loop of success. And since you're here, we assume you recognize the importance. Um, Higher ratings and reviews can lead to more bookings and higher earnings. Listings with an average 80% five-star reviews received 69% of total bookings on Airbnb globally in the last year. Consistently delivering high quality stays can have a truly meaningful impact on your business. And then, according to Airbnb data globally, each 5-star review can lead to an average increase of 3% additional growth in gross booking value and a 4.4% increase in bookings over the following year. So, not anything to scoff at. And then our Superhost program, which is in its 10th year, continues to reward our top performing hosts. Last year, our Superhost community grew by almost 15% to over 1.3 million hosts, and that's the highest in the program's history. And then overall quality looks at the guest's overall experience of a stay, but quality isn't simply determined by that listing's overall rating. There are many factors that contribute to quality, including cleanliness, ease of check-in, accuracy, host cancellations, and community support issues. So when it comes to accuracy, it's important that listings are accurately represented. Guests expect your photos and amenities and description to match your actual spaces. Check-in. Check-in and check-out are both incredibly important moments that can really make or break a 5-star stay. Guests expect to get inside easily, feel welcome, and leave effortlessly. If checking in or checking out are difficult, it really creates friction that makes the stay less pleasant. And then cleaning thoroughly between guests is an essential part of 5-star hosting. And lack of cleanliness is one of the most common reasons that guests give hosts fewer than 5 stars. So, an incredibly important part of the quality experience to consider when setting up your listing for success. And then communicating effectively with guests can help turn a good stay into a great one. And then when it comes to location, it's helpful if guests are made aware of transportation, points of interest, and special considerations like noise or other situations that might affect their stay. You can't control where your listing is located, but disclosing any relevant information that's going to be helpful to a guest and setting expectations about the location will be incredibly useful. And then guests think about the value of your listings by comparing the quality of the stay and the price they paid for it. Though ratings aren't the only measure of a 5-star stay, getting these 6 categories right every time is really key to a successful listing on Airbnb. And then, in addition to 5-star reviews, Airbnb's guest favorite highlight shows potential guests how eligible listings compare to other listings around the world. Listings that are guest favorite feature a badge in search results and on the listing page. There's also a filter that allows travelers to specifically search for guest favorite listings. I've used this filter many times when just initially starting my search for a destination that I'm planning to head to. These hosts are highlighted based on ratings, reviews, and reliability, and they're designed to help guests feel more confident in the booking process. And then during the second half of 2024, guest favorite listings accounted for 20% of all listings on Airbnb. So definitely a large group of hosts that have hit that threshold. Um, the average occupancy and conversion rates of listings with guest favorite highlights is significantly higher compared to listings without a guest favorite highlight. And as of November 2024, guest favorite listings have seen over 200 million nights booked since the feature launched in May of 2024. It's a little bit of an older data set, but definitely a tool we see being used frequently by guests who are looking for a great place to book. So let's talk about the key strengths of guest favorite listings, which tend to excel in the following areas. Cleanliness, we've already talked about it. It's a top reason for negative reviews. So clean listings are one of the main things that is considered. The reviews that hosts get for their cleanliness is one of the factors that we consider when determining if a listing is a guest favorite. And then accuracy. Value is another one, fewer host cancellations, and then fewer quality related customer service issues generated during trips. And it's essential to take action to improve the quality of listings, and you can do that by taking a close look at the feedback that guests share in their reviews. So we have a listing issues page in your host dashboard, which highlights listings with quality concerns and key areas for improvement. A suspended listing can be reactivated after 5 days through your Airbnb account, and a permanently removed listing, if that's happened to you, can be appealed via the listing issues page as well. While your listing is offline, it's a good opportunity to take steps to resolve the issues that negatively impact guest experiences. So, just something to keep in mind. This is what the listing issues page looks like in your host dashboard, and highlights listings with quality concerns that you may want to take a look at, and look at opportunities for key areas of improvement. Now we're going to move on to booking settings to help improve listing appeal. So these, again, as I mentioned, are a lot of levers you can kind of consider as tools in your tool belt. If you have a listing that's underperforming, if you've entered into shoulder season, these are things you might consider trying to pull on when you're trying to help a listing perform better on the platform. Adding availability is a good way to improve the visibility of a listing. This is pretty basic because the more dates a listing is available, the more likely it's compatible with a potential guest plans. So, one booking setting that may help to drive more bookings and more revenue is decreasing your minimum length of stay requirements. Active listings globally that decrease their minimum length of stay generate 13.4% more gross booking value on average over the next 365 days compared to listings that don't. So that's a pretty significant amount of booking value, and potentially money you're leaving on the table if your minimum length of stay is longer than maybe the average in your market, and you're struggling to get those bookings and fill those gap nights. So, where local regulations allow, offering shorter stays can help to boost visibility, fill gaps in your calendar, and attract more bookings. Successful hosts tend to adjust their minimum length of stay policies to align with, again, area trends, seasonality, upcoming events. Tailoring that minimum stay requirement based on those factors can help you appeal to more guests and then also maximize your revenue. And you can also improve your chances of last minute bookings and filling calendar gaps by unblocking unbookable nights. Sometimes you'll have block nights due to what we call sandwich nights or gap nights. These are the days between reservations that are not long enough to meet the minimum requirement that you have set for a booking, because they are the days between reservations that are not long enough to meet that minimum length of stay requirement. So they go unbooked. And it's important because if you're trying to fill those gaps in your calendar and maximize your high season earnings, or if you have goals that you're trying to meet per month related to occupancy, you may be able to help your search ranking by opening up sandwich nights and increasing your availability, especially for those last minute bookers. Unblocking these gap nights is something you can do at the listing level or at scale through your account. Now we'll talk about some cancellation policies. So choosing a cancellation policy is really a balancing act. You want to avoid cancellations while still attracting guests. And today's guests do want more flexibility as they plan their upcoming travels. So today we want to highlight the value of using more flexible cancellation policies, and we'll also cover the non-refundable cancellation policy option. So it's important to remember that guests can filter their search results to surface listings that offer the features and amenities that are right for them. And for some potential guests, a bit of flexibility is key. Because every host has different needs, we've created several cancellation policies for hosts to choose from. But the two most flexible policies available for hosts to choose from are the flexible cancellation policy and the moderate cancellation policy. So we'll go over the flexible cancellation policy. Guests can cancel up to 24 hours before check-in for a full refund. If they cancel less than 24 hours before check-in and never check in, you'll be paid for the first night. If they cancel after check-in, you'll be paid for each night they stay plus one additional night. This isn't always the most popular cancellation policy, but it can be really useful if you have a listing that's maybe new to the platform, that doesn't have an established reputation. While you build up that reputation, giving guests a little bit more flexibility can make it a little bit easier for them to maybe take that risk and say, look, yeah, I'll book this listing. So just something to consider if you have listings that are underperforming, listings that are new, or if you're open to using the flexible, great. Awesome. But totally understand that you have revenue goals, and last minute cancellations can be really hard to stomach. So then we have the moderate cancellation policy that allows you to cancel up to 5 days before check-in for a full refund. If they cancel after that, you'll be paid for each night they stay, plus one additional night, and 50% for all the unspent nights. This is a pretty popular policy that feels a little bit more of a little bit more of a guarantee to hosts than the flexible. So definitely worth considering again for any of your listings that you think would be a good fit for it, but especially for listings that maybe you're building that reputation for or struggling on the platform. And then the non-refundable option is a discount that you can offer on top of other discounts and cancellation policies. So this non-refundable discount is a discount that does stack with other discounts if you are using maybe early bird or last minute, or the new listing promotion. Just something to know. It does stack, but it does offer the guest some flexibility and choice, while offering you potentially greater protection against cancellations. So the way that it works is the guest has 10% offered off the base price. Your discounted rate is what appears in search results. And so, makes you stand out as, highly competitive. And guests have the option to book with the standard rate that they would typically book with, or that reduced non-refundable rate. So this is an option that can, again, help protect you from cancellations while also attracting guests with a lower rate. They may click in because that price looks so great and the listing looks awesome. And then they may decide, you know what, the discount isn't right for me. I want a little bit more flexibility. I'm going to go with the standard rate. And many guests are, set on their travel plans and they may choose that 10% off. But definitely a great way to at least even get guests clicking into your listing. And then Instant Book. This is a feature that allows you to immediately book a home for available dates. So you don't need to review and accept each booking request individually. It helps to save time. And in addition, many guests just like that convenience of being able to book without the back and forth. Guests who prioritize this type of convenience can also filter their search results to surface only listings that are instantly bookable. I know that I've done that when I'm especially getting close to my dates that I'm going to be traveling and don't want to deal with the back and forth. But if you're reticent to enable Instant Book completely, if you have concerns about guest behavior, there are a few settings that you can apply that may help to put your mind at ease. You can require that guests who are able to instantly book your property have an established positive track record on Airbnb. And this means that they've stayed on Airbnb previously without incidents or negative reviews. And then before we dig into promotions, let's first spend a bit of time talking about why pricing matters. So as a host, you may be looking for ways to improve the searchability of your listings, to increase bookings and revenue on Airbnb. And one of the ways that hosts can most directly affect their performance in search results is by adjusting their price and offering discounts. Price is an important factor in how listings appear in search results across trip types and destinations. Now, if you have a high quality listing that's high performing, getting booked all the time, dropping your rates obviously isn't a smart idea. But again, tools in your tool belt. If you've got a listing that's struggling, if you're headed into off season, these are a couple of things to consider. Price is one of the main things that guests think about when choosing where to stay. So setting a competitive price while maintaining that high quality can help improve your ranking and search results. So the algorithm prioritizes the total price of a listing before taxes, including fees and discounts, and the quality of a listing compared to similar listings in the area. Listings that offer the best value in any given region tend to rank higher in search results. If your place is priced higher than similar listings nearby, there's a chance you may miss out on bookings. If your place is priced competitively, you're more likely to attract guests, which could help lead to a boost in your earnings on Airbnb. Excuse me. And I think this is a super, super interesting stat. Active listings that decrease their price by at least 5% or more generate 22% more bookings over the course of the next year than listings that don't. So today we're going to cover a couple of discounts and promotions that can be helpful when trying to capture bookings for your listings. But first, let's dig into cleaning fees. So Listing turnovers, they cost you time, they cost you money, and you will probably need to charge a cleaning fee for all that effort. We get it. But here's what we want you to know. Our research shows that if your listing has a cleaning fee, guests will hold it to a higher standard of cleanliness. And this can result in more scrutiny in your cleanliness reviews. The cleaning fee is one of the most important factors in how guests perceive the overall value of an Airbnb stay. So, if it's not handled properly, it can lead to lower value ratings as well. So, you want to make sure that your cleaning fee is matched with quality. If guests see a spotless home, fresh linens, and hotel-like cleanliness, they may feel that that fee is worth it. If you're providing, toiletries, fresh towels, well-stocked essentials, paper towels, trash bags, dish soap, that all helps guests to feel that they're getting more for their money. And then guests are more receptive to higher cleaning fees for larger or unique listings. So spaciousness, villas, or luxury stays justify a higher cleaning fee. Guests may expect to pay more for a well-maintained, professionally clean space. And then transparency builds trust. So clearly explaining what the cleaning fee covers can be super helpful as well. Listings that say includes professional cleaning and premium linens can also help to ease concerns as well. So here's an Airbnb guest in their own words. If there's an $80 cleaning fee, then I expect the cleanest space I've ever been to. We know that for many of you, your cleaning fees are likely higher than $80, but we believe this is still valuable information to hear guest sentiment about cleaning fees. We're not suggesting that you lower your cleaning fees below what you should be paying your cleaners or anything like that, but just know that matching that quality with value, like we discussed, the cleanliness with the value, making sure that guests know what they're paying for can be super helpful in delivering guest expectations, and making sure that the listing is truly clean. If they're paying that cleaning fees and they want to show up to a clean space. And then more than 45% of all Airbnb bookings worldwide had a cleaning fee of less than $25 in 2024. Again, doesn't mean that this is what you need to charge, but just something to know as you're figuring out how to make sure that your cleaning fee matches the quality you're delivering. And then a promotional tool to encourage and pick up early bookings is our early bird discount. Guests who book further in advance get a discount, which acts as an incentive. The early bird discount can be applied to any reservation that's booked 1 to 36 months ahead of time. Early bird discounts can help you surface in more search results and appeal to guests who are searching for a stay further in advance, but who are also keeping affordability in mind. The discount can be a great tool to help encourage guests to book while allowing you to build a healthy forward looking occupancy. And in 2024, the lead times for bookings globally with an early bird discount were on average 2.5 times longer than the lead times for bookings without an early bird discount. So if you're looking to build that forward looking occupancy, maybe especially in your slower seasons, something to really look into and consider. And then the new listing promotion, I think this is the last one that we'll cover today, is a promotion that you can leverage to help increase occupancy and drive bookings with your new and unbooked listings. The new listing promotion allows hosts to easily apply a 20% discount to any eligible listings for your first three bookings. In order to be eligible, a listing must have fewer than three bookings and smart pricing disabled. So if you've got a listing, it's only got one booking, then you're eligible to apply the discount if it's struggling and you want to, build up the reputation of that listing. Definitely worth considering. And then a 20% hosts who apply the new listing promotion see a 20% decrease in the time it takes to get those first bookings. And approximately 50% of all listings that received a first booking on Airbnb in 2024 had the new listing promotion applied. So definitely a great promotion to consider as you add inventory. If you have a listing with less than three bookings that's struggling to get booked, definitely worth exploring. And then I can just quickly show you how that promotion is covered and merchandised to guests. When you enable the promotion, you get a new line item on your price breakdown. So you see that there. That's what the guest sees. And then you get strike through price in search results and on the listing page. So you appear competitive and your rates are dropped compared to what they typically would be. And then you have a message on your listing page that highlights that you're offering a deal. So guests are aware that they're getting that deal. And then I think the most exciting piece as well is a chance to be featured in emails that we send to guests. So if I go on Airbnb and I'm looking for a place to stay in San Francisco, and I don't complete the booking, Airbnb may send me an email later that day saying, hey, you still looking for a place to stay in San Francisco? Check out these other listings that might be of interest to you. With that 20% discount, you have the opportunity to be featured in these types of emails. So definitely a great way to attract more guests as well. And that is it for me. So I think I'm going to kick it over to Andrew, right?
Yes. Yeah. So just looking at the clock, thank you. Perfect. 25 minutes. I'm going to take a few minutes and just react to a few of the things that Julia shared and give some hospitable context to it. And then we can go to Q&A. So keep the questions coming. I think our team is kind of flagging questions to bring to the stage later. So keep the questions coming. So thank you, Julia. She talked about listing issues, learning from listing issues, the importance of cleanliness in the quality side, et cetera. A couple things there that we offer today and a couple things coming soon. So if you are on the Mogul plan, you have access to sentiment analysis. We're using AI to basically ingest your entire conversation, detect things that are becoming problems that may impact the quality of a stay. We're flagging those in the conversation. So if it's a problem like, I don't know, a busted pipe, we'll actually flag that. So you can see that in the inbox. You can see maybe as a manager, oh, this conversation might need my attention. You can learn from that. And we're also kind of prompting you to say, hey, do you really want to send out your review request on this reservation? You've had an issue. Those are the things that we do today, but they're only available to Mogul right now. We're hoping to move those out to other people soon, but no decision on that yet. There are a couple of things coming that will also help you on listings issues. So please attend the town hall next week. It is an operations themed town hall. There are some exciting new things coming with AI and with cleaners. So we're going to be talking about that next week. Further ahead, but most likely before the end of the year, something we've been working on with our account manager at Airbnb is a property quality dashboard. Airbnb gives a lot of feedback on listing issues. You are also on other channels. We're learning from all of those channels. We're doing a lot of things with AI. We think we can deliver a very, very compelling property quality dashboard that is going to help you realize what are the things I can do to improve my unit. Those of you that are managing for owners, we're also going to help you communicate with those owners if they are responsible for making upgrades. We can tell you how much an amenity might improve your booking value, et cetera. Those are exciting things to come in a property quality dashboard. Julia talked about adding availability, resolving gap or sandwich nights. This is something that we do now. So we, I think it was just 2 town halls ago, we launched something we're calling dynamic midnight stay. And we're doing things like taking what is your ideal stay, which maybe is kind of opportunistic. It is a risk. It's going to take you out of some of the search results. But the idea is you run that as an opportunity far in the future, and we help you start to degrade that to a more flexible, more appealing midnight stay that helps you get more bookings as you move through your booking window. It's also going to resolve gap nights for you. So that's just been recently launched. It's part of it's wrapped into our dynamic pricing that's built into the calendar. So you can look for it there. Julia talked about cancellation policies. We hope to be doing something there, not maybe next week, but in the next couple weeks. What she showed with having a non-refundable policy option that's discounted from your rate, we think that is fantastic. It's revenue maximizing, and we want to make that possible on all your channels, not just on Airbnb. So that's going to start to show up very soon. We want that on direct. We want that on your other booking platforms, so you can have that flexibility of being able to drive a slightly higher rate, perhaps with a refundable policy, but then still collecting revenue on people that went for the cheaper option and took a non-refundable policy. We think that's a great plan, and we think it's great for conversions by giving guests the choice. So she mentioned pricing for value. Obviously, if you've been following any of the town halls, we do have dynamic pricing embedded in Hospitable. We shared the numbers of that experiment so far. It's been live for, I think, just about like 90 days, maybe a little bit more. And we had very similar numbers from what Julia shared, that what we found, and it might be more market conditions, it might be people that used it, were more struggling with their calendar and wanted to fill more gaps. we had a slight decrease. So we saw a 4.9% decrease in ADR for the people using it on average, which resulted in a 20% occupancy boost. But the thing that we were happy about is your RevPAN, your revenue per available night, which blends those two factors and would tell us if we were just being cheap and giving away nights, actually increased 14.5%. So we thought that was a bit of a victory and showed a good use of dynamic pricing to help you price competitively when that's the appropriate stance in the market. Let's see, Julie mentioned cleaning fees. I think the ultimate opportunity to kind of make those go away, and I think the chat was onto the fact that like visibility on cleaning fees has changed in Airbnb. If you really want to make them disappear, we need to help you with that with length of stay pricing. Length of stay pricing, if you're not familiar, would allow you to set a different price per night for a 1-night stay versus a 2-night stay versus 3-night stay without having to have a cleaning fee. And it's a really nice technique for kind of blending your cleaning fee in so it just kind of gets absorbed into the nightly rate, but is in context of the itinerary length. So that's not on the immediate plans, but it is on our roadmap eventually. She talked a lot about discounts finally at the end. We've expanded a lot of the opportunities for discounts. We launched rule sets recently. Rule sets for us operate across all of your channels, and there are ways now that you can use discounts in a high season versus a low season in a different way than you use perhaps from our property pages, where you might set your standard weekly, monthly, length of stay, early bird, last minute discounts. You can do them in a more targeted, sophisticated way using rule sets now in our product. And we're going to start to apply those across all channels. Right now it's Airbnb and Direct. We will get discounts as much as they can be integrated into your other booking platforms as well. Okay, and then my last comments before we go to Q&A. Let's talk about Airbnb fee changes. They are not the subject of tonight's presentation. Perhaps untimely announcement for Julia. I'm sorry. Hospitable will be communicating very soon. We'll be talking about it in upcoming town halls. You'll likely see an email from us, if not today, by the end of the week, I would think. All across our socials everywhere. We'll be communicating on what we think is the best course of action. I have more freedom to speak about this from Hospitable's point of view than our host does, representing a publicly traded company. So while we're not taking questions on the subject really tonight, I will take the opportunity to speak for Hospitable on our stance. So first, not a victory lap, but we did predict this was coming. Any of you that were around in the fall of last year, we had this migration to Airbnb's connection, our connectivity to Airbnb to what is called the property management scope. It was a big change for us. We shared a lot of opinions at that time about the host-only fee and its future. We saw some of those predictions validated. In April of 2025, there was this global update to total price display that brought the last remaining markets around the world to this concept of displaying the total price to the guest, except taxes if you're in the US. So we saw that trend. This is part of that trend. It's I think a cultural change at Airbnb, pushing back on a reputation that, you see all these fees dropped on. That's not great for guests. That's not great for hosts to have that. So it's about improving guest experience. It would have been great, very, very honestly, if this had been done before we had done this migration. It would have made things a lot more clear and felt a lot less arbitrary with the fee structure changes that happen when you are connected to a property management software. So from that point of view, we welcome the simplification. But we also gained experience through that process in helping hosts navigate fee structure changes. So we think we are well prepared to help those of you who will be impacted by this now. So what do we expect you to do? We mainly see our host falling into one of three buckets. So let's start with bucket one of maybe small scale hosts who are relatively savvy with Airbnb and Hospitable. You have a few properties. You want to have control over this change. You can make this transition anytime before the transition date on your own time and update your Hospitable markup rates to adjust to the fee structure, and then log into Airbnb, go to your account settings and change preemptively to the host only fee. You could do that today. Okay, nothing's blocking you. We can't change your fee structure. That's not something we can do through our integration. It's not available to us. You have to do that on Airbnb's backend. That's one bucket of hosts. A second bucket of hosts, maybe those of you that don't quite understand what's going on, you may be a bit nervous, or any of you that have a lot of properties that maybe you have complicated revenue strategy going on, you have different markup rates on different properties. We plan to help you do this transition by creating sort of a transition wizard in our product to walk you through the process. If you've got a lot of properties, we might show you all of your markup rates on all of your listings on one page. So you can kind of do a nice QA on your listings, and then we'll walk you through what you need to do to, again, upgrade on your own time. The last bucket, co-hosted accounts. You might have the weirdest, this was what we learned, I think, from the previous process. You might not have permission to change your fee configuration, and it would actually be easier for you to let Airbnb change that fee structure for you for all of your accounts. I would also lump in anyone, not those of you here, who don't pay attention to any of our communication. You're in this bucket too. You don't really want to take any action, or you're not going to make any decision about this at all. So you're in this third bucket. We know what your markup rates are today. We know what will change with your account, and we want to protect your revenue. So we can help neutralize the impact, and we will take action on your behalf if we don't hear anything from you. So what we hope to do is be able to actually display what we're doing in our product. So you'll actually be able to see what we would change in your markup rate at the date if you take no action, and you can opt out of whatever we're going to do if you don't like what we're going to do. But we have a lot of hosts who will not, who are not in this webinar, who are not going to pay attention to communication, and we need to protect their revenue. That's part of what we think is our job. So overall, on the host-only fee, we think that what is good for conversions on your booking platforms is good for you all. We know that people don't like seeing line items of fees. Pierre actually reminded me this morning that this was one of our first requests when we launched Direct Premium, was to make a host-only fee. We started thinking that, oh, our host would want the fees to be given to the guests. No, you guys asked us to make a host-only fee to hide fees. We believe a host-only fee gives better visibility on platform costs and what your guest is paying. We legitimately had hosts in this property management scope migration I mentioned last year who were not aware that Airbnb was charging their guests a fee. Of course, there are more of you in the bucket of, yes, I'm aware of that, but I don't really know how much. This goes away with that, right? You actually know how much your costs are for your platform. How can you run a revenue strategy if you don't know what all of your costs are? So those are my comments. I don't represent Airbnb. We will be communicating from Hospitable's point of view further in the very near future. But with that, I think we can break into some Q&A.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. And Julia, I'll bring you back on stage as well. Sweet, yeah. So if you do have any questions for Andrew and Julia, please do put them in the chat. We already have a bunch in the Q&A that I'm going to start going through that we pulled out during the session. I'm going to try my best to get the context of these. Sometimes it's a little difficult. I don't know when exactly they were asked, but we'll try our best. Okay. Question for you, Julia, from Jamie. How do we tell if we are a guest favorite or not?
Yeah, so there is a slide I can go back to. If you don't mind sharing my screen, or can I share my screen again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here we go. You can see this on the listing page itself. So it'll identify if your listing is in the top 1%, top 5%, top 10%, I think even top 15% of homes. It'll say it directly on your listing page, and then in that top banner at the very top, it says a guest favorite as well. You can also see this in search results too. So
cool, awesome. And then potentially keeping your slides up, because I don't know if you had this in there. Where do you find the listing suggestions page? Oh, we've lost your audio, Julie. I think you're muted.
Whoops. Host dashboard. So if you log into your Airbnb account, let's see, it's a slide much further in here. Let me get to it. If you log into your Airbnb account and you go to Insights, I believe that can be accessed at the top right-hand corner of your screen. Then you'll see opportunities, quality, occupancy rates, conversion, superhost, and then listing issues is right there in the host dashboard. I can send a link as well. I'll drop that in the chat just for ease.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next question. So cleaning fees, we've talked about a couple of times. I think there's some confusion and clarity on what guests can actually see there and whether it's still broken out for guests viewing the listing.
Yeah, so it's not in the total price, but guests can see this in their receipt that they get from Airbnb. So they do know if they paid a cleaning fee or not, but it's not, again, yeah, not in the total price display.
Okay, cool. Hopefully that answers the question there. Good stuff. So hopefully my colleagues are keeping an eye on the chat and adding any more questions to the Q&A as I go, because I'm going to focus on the Q&A section right now. A good question from Paul Simon, and I don't know if this is framed towards Airbnb or Hospitable. Is there a dark mode, dark theme coming anytime soon? Completely off topic, but clearly interest there.
For Airbnb, I don't know. That's a great question. I can do some digging, but I have no idea.
Cool. That makes sense.
I've been looking through Figma lately, and I have not seen a dark mode unless that file has been hidden from me. So nothing to announce from our side either.
Not on the horizon just yet.
No. We have a few other priorities above that. But appreciate the question.
Good stuff. Thank you, Paul. Okay, this is bit of a long one, but kind of understanding how amenities should impact pricing. And I guess this might be potentially for you, Andrew, and probably around user dynamic pricing. Give you a second to read that through.
Okay. Yeah, I think I get where the question's coming from. So yeah, you add hot tub, which is statistically, I think one of the biggest things you can do to increase the price of your unit. It's one of the most sought after things in searches, a hot tub. But if you increase it too quickly, maybe the algorithms on different booking platforms would penalize you for the rate increase. So I am not an expert on that. Most of the algorithms are not really discussed exactly how they work, but I don't think that's a bad strategy to start to introduce the price markup of your amenity that you've added slowly, so your quality score can match the improvements and you don't suffer. That makes sense to me fundamentally, but I don't have any special access to knowledge that is the right thing to do.
Fair enough. Okay, sounds like a logical thing to do then. Okay. Next up, a question around addressing listing issues. So once the listing issue is addressed and fixed, how can I remove the listing issue warning from the listing? Oh, Julia, you are muted again.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have an answer for that. I might need to look at the user interface today to better answer that question. So if you can tell me who that came from, I can follow up directly later.
Or maybe someone in the chat probably knows. I think a lot of us have probably had listings issues before and know what they had to do to get the issue removed.
Yeah, if anyone would like to chime in there, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, yeah, I'll just take a note of who asked that, and we'll try and follow up afterwards if not. Okay. Just looking through. So there's a question from David, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, Julie, but is the photo tour something that boosts viewings in the algorithm?
Yeah, I don't know how it influences your search results in the algorithm. That being said, we do see that guests really appreciate the photo tour. It helps them contextualize themselves and imagine themselves in the space. I do know that historically we have seen a slight increase in booking value for hosts that have enabled the photo tour. It's small. So not something that makes a big difference, but definitely a great way to, I think, showcase the different spaces in the listing and help the guest really understand and orient themselves to what the space might be like.
I can also add for like some other booking platforms as well. Like when you consider how they're approaching the search results for their guests, right? Like if they have capabilities to understand your photos in a more advanced way than others, they can kind of tailor the photos they show in the search results according to what's being searched on. So if someone's filtering on a balcony or a terrace or a hot tub or a fireplace, they can show pictures that have that in them. And some of them are doing that. And so what the takeaway there is, do a good job with your photos, making sure that you have photos of all your amenities. Hospitable is actually processing your photos now and making tagging those images. So some of the booking platforms that rely on like photo tags have that metadata available, and they can do that in the search results, helping you to have better search results. Not all platforms work the same, but I think the takeaway from your side as a host is your photos are important, and we're going to do what we can to help those photos be more performative. And one of the things you can do for Airbnb is, yes, the photo tour is obviously a good thing to have set up and make sure that your photos are all tuned well and in the right places and labeled with good captions and things like that. Yeah.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so just going back to guest favorites and understanding kind of the criteria there. We have Russ saying that they have 4.9 stars and occupancy of about 70 to 80% and don't understand why that doesn't make them guest favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to take a look at each listing individually, but again, cleanliness, accuracy, and value are the three kind of quality categories we're thinking about when putting a host into that bucket. And then fewer host cancellations and fewer quality related customer service generated tickets during a stay. So again, I don't have insight exactly into like your specific use case, but again, these are the 5 factors that are considered when determining whether or not a listing is a guest favorite. So if there's opportunity to work on specifically those 3 quality categories at all for your listings, definitely recommend doing that because I think those can be really critical to helping you enter into that guest favorite category.
Is that, Julie, is that something you can comment on, as like how long you have to maintain that, or like is this a rolling kind of evaluation of accounts, or is it an annual thing where, okay, we calculated all this year's guest favorites?
Yeah, it's not annual. I think it's more dynamic than that. I'm not sure how regularly it's updated, but I think it's fairly dynamic and not something that's happening once a quarter like Superhost.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And we had that question earlier, and someone actually replied in the chat about getting the listing issue removed. Albana replied saying that it's actually just based on a certain time period. There's no way to actually manually remove that, apparently. So thank you for chiming in there, Albana. Okay, moving on to a couple more questions. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. I have a feeling I know the answer to this, but does Airbnb have any place where hosts can put in a feature request? That's obviously something that Hospitable does with our software. I'm just wondering if there's a way that hosts can kind of suggest new things on Airbnb.
Yeah, I just dropped in the chat a link to the feedback form on Airbnb. This doesn't go nowhere. This is actually the best place to submit your feedback. We look at it, the engineering teams are, moving this, the feedback we get into kind of thematic buckets, and then are able to understand like what is it that hosts want most. And that really does influence the things that we determine to prioritize for product releases that we have on a yearly basis. So definitely recommend adding your feedback there. You're welcome to share it with us in the chat too, but I think this is genuinely the best place to put it because it goes to the same team and they're able to really understand how many hosts are hoping to see some feature changes that are similar.
Yeah, and we advocate on your behalf too. So because we are like the top tier status of integration partners with Airbnb, we have bi-weekly meetings with an account manager. He's here today too. He's great. And we advocate for things that you tell us are important to you that you want to do with Airbnb and things that are important for us to make Airbnb work better for you. So there's also like kind of that back channel process that you have because you're using Hospitable.
Awesome. Okay, a slight change topic. A question for you, Andrew. There's a few questions around dynamic pricing. So I think the main question for Karen was, do I need to keep and pay a third party who helps me with dynamic pricing, or can I rely on a feature like Hospitable's dynamic pricing?
It's up to you, Karen. It depends. Like I think we're like I said, 90 plus days in right now. I think it's working for a lot of hosts. Some of you will go to the preview and you'll be like, this doesn't feel quite right, and you might be able to adjust some of the settings we have in now. We're going to be adding more settings. We're going to be I think we're kind of starting to talk about this idea of like auto tuning. If you like your current pricing and you're using a third-party tool, we can kind of adjust all those settings for you with one click with the magic wand, right? So like some of you will be on this adoption curve of Hospitable dynamic pricing where it works for you today or it doesn't. So you can preview it, right? You can go into your calendar, you can turn on for a property. If it works for you, if you need to make a few adjustments, great, you can turn it on. And then eventually, when you're confident that it's working for you, you can turn off whatever third party you were paying. You don't have to disconnect from them to preview us. You don't have to disconnect to even use us. But if you like using us and it's working for you, you can cancel that subscription and save that money.
Cool. Makes sense. Thank you very much. Hopefully that covers off a bunch of dynamic pricing questions from the chat. Okay, another question for you, Julia. Greg lost Superhost status a few months ago with all 5-star reviews except one accidental double booking. Is there a way to get Superhost status back?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to answer these types of questions because they're so specific to a case I just don't have insight into. If you had an accidental booking with a double booking with a guest, I think that customer support should be able to help resolve that issue. The guest definitely should have canceled if they had the double booking, and hopefully not the host in that case. But again, I would recommend following up with customer support on that. Yeah, it's hard to know without having the details of this really specific like reservation. So sorry, I can't provide much context there.
That's fair enough. Okay. I'm just skimming through Q&A, see if anything that we've not covered already. If there are more questions from the audience around optimization from a Hospitable or Airbnb standpoint, do let us know.
I saw a question somewhere about the requirements for becoming a co-host, and I can drop that some information in the chat on that. It did ask, I think, if you can become a co-host without being a property host, and I believe that you have to be you have to have an active listing on Airbnb with at least 10 stays. Or three stays that were longer term. So I'll drop the information in the chat if anyone's interested, but you do need to be a host on Airbnb to be a co-host.
Cool. Awesome. And then a question for you, Andrew, around actually, is it possible to manage co-host payouts within Hospitable yet?
Actually looking that up right now because it changed very recently. So let me see. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm going to just read this so I don't get it wrong. But what we're doing now is we allow hosts to indicate that they are using the split payout so we can show that information accurately as already paid out on a statement or invoice. So this is relevant to those of you that are on Mogul and you're using owner statements. I assume this question is coming from someone that's doing that. And so we recognize what's already been paid out and we handle some specific accounting scenarios better through that. That is something that should be released to all Mogul hosts at the moment. Let me drop an article in the chat, a help article in the chat about that to cover that.
Cool. Makes sense. Thank you very much. And then there was a question from Suzanne for you, Julia. Can you explain how to reset a cancellation policy specific to a promotion?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Does anyone on the Hospitable side understand the question?
Maybe Suzanne can add some clarity in the chat on your question. Be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm not personally familiar with how cancellation policies are impacted by promotions.
Yeah, the only policy that would impact promotions is the non-refundable cancellation policy option, which is a discount / promotion. You can apply that at the listing level, but I don't think there's any need to reset. You can change your cancellation policies at the listing level as well.
Let us know, Suzanne, if that answers the question or if there's a kind of a follow-up to that at all. Let us know in the chat. Sorry.
She's asking about the non-refundable discount.
Okay, you said it gives the option. Yeah. I mean, Hospitable may be better to field that you guys can explain where to.
It's not managed from Hospitable yet today.
Okay.
So if you're going to do this on Airbnb, you do need to set this up in the Airbnb backend. We will be looking at this, I said, in weeks, like not maybe next week, but the week after. We want this to be a setting that you can use across all of your booking platforms. It's not don't technically think of it as a promotion, which I think is why we were distracted by the question. But the idea is it's very simple. It's 2 parameters. Yes, I want a non-refundable option, and you derive it from your general cancellation policy, which is more flexible, right? So it's maybe a 10% discount. You can kind of set that rate and derive it from your normal pricing and your flexible policy. Anything on that, Julia? Or...
Yeah, and you can apply it at the listing level. I'm just double checking where that is. I just dropped a help article in the chat. Let me just make sure. Yeah. If you go to cancellation policy on your listing on Airbnb, and so that's in the listing editor. So if you go to your listings, pick the listing that you want, or you can do this to each of your listings, but you go into the listing, you scroll down to cancellation policy, you have your standard policy up top, and then you'll see the option to add non-refundable. You just toggle over that, yes, I do want to add non-refundable to this listing. So pretty straightforward, but just log into your Airbnb account and go to your listings editor for the listing that you want to apply this to.
Okay. I'm just trying to find any new questions. There were some questions about what you were speaking about, so hopefully you managed to answer all those. Airbnb resolutions. There's not a way to track that in Hospitable. Is there, Andrew?
I don't think we have tracking visibility. We have Airbnb support chats that can get started in the inbox currently, but no, we don't have, I think, any integration access into the resolution center. That's purely on Airbnb's platform side. We do know when they've been paid though. So like in your reservation financials and Hospitable, we do have clarity on those resolutions. So you will see it like your reporting. If you're in the inbox and a resolution has happened, you'll get that updated in reservation financials, but there's not any specific kind of resolution feature in Hospitable.
Cool. Thank you very much. Okay. Do we need to run promotions in Airbnb, or can we do it through Hospitable?
It's a bit of both. So there's lots of discounts you can manage from Hospitable. Early bird, late night, length of stay discounts, weekly, monthly discounts. And then there's something called custom promotions. Custom promotions you can only manage from Airbnb, and we don't have visibility on those. So we can't adjust your dynamic pricing in any way based on a custom promotion you are running. Those are only on Airbnb's platform.
Cool. Hopefully, Emily, that's answered the question for you in detail. Thank you. A question from Lydia here, which I don't fully understand, but we'll ask it and we'll see if either of you have the answer. How does the non-refundable policy, i.e. discount, affect the Klarna option to the guest? Airbnb accepts cancellations right up to the end, and the hosts lose out, and Airbnb does not lose fees. Lydia's eyes.
Yeah, I'm not totally familiar with the Klarna piece. If the guest has selected the non-refundable option, I don't think that it would be overridden through Klarna, but I'm not familiar with the Klarna integration at all, unfortunately. So I don't have more on that.
That's fair enough. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I think that is all of the questions from our Q&A that our team has pulled through. So I think we might have to start bringing this to a close. Okay, awesome. I think we've hopefully covered everything off there for everyone. I know we had a lot of questions, a lot of audience participation. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you so much, Julie and Andrew, for helping out as well.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone.